Hello students, in this video we are going to study the concept of expectation, and along with that concept of expectation we will analyze variance, which is another byproduct of expectation. So let us first understand the concept of expectation. So I will start with a example, which is you are a quantitative trader who is developing strategies for your company. So you have developed one strategy, trading strategy in a stock market. You have ran that strategy over several years. So typically in a stock market there are 5 days, 5 working days on which you will trade. So this particular strategy that you have figured out showed a loss of 200 per day, then a profit of 200 per day, and another day profit of 500 per day in the ratio 1:1:2. That means in a week, if you have run the strategy for a week, that is 5 days, one day will be a loss of 200, one day will be a profit of 200, and 2 days it will be a profit of 500. So this contributes to 4, and on a weekly basis this is what is happening. Okay, so sometimes there may, in some weeks there may be 2 losses because it is not totaling to 5. So sometimes there may be 2 losses, but whatever you have run, this is the proportion that you have got. Remember our relative frequency approach for defining the probabilities. In that case, basically your manager wants to know what is the profit and loss of this strategy, or whether shall I run the strategy or not. So he asks you to summarize your strategy in one number, that is called the average. So how will you figure out the average for this strategy? So by using our axioms of probability, we will give the assignment of probabilities, that is x is a random variable which denotes the profit or loss in a strategy. So profit is equal to positive number and loss is equal to negative number. So when I lose money 200, that means 200 are going from my pocket. So minus 200 rupees I am losing. So px of minus 200, it happens 1 in 4 times. So it is 1 by 4. Px of 200 is again 1 by 4, and px of 500 is 1 by 2. Now I need to figure out whether this strategy is profitable or not. So what I will do is, I will take these losses and profits, and I will weigh them according to these weights of probability. This is the most natural thing that I will do. So if I do that, then my formulation becomes something like this: minus 200 into 1 by 4, 200 into 1 by 4 plus 500 into 1 by 2. So that gives me, I am having a profit of 250 rupees per day on an average. So now depending on the costs incurred and all, the manager is able to make a decision. So right now what you have learned here, or whatever we have figured out here, is nothing but the concept of expectation. So what is expectation? It is a long-term average of your strategy in this case, or it is a long-term average if you keep running that experiment again and again. So in this case, what was my random experiment? Trading strategy. My trading strategy was the random experiment, and the profit that I generated was a realization of that random variable. So on some days it was minus 200, on some days it was 200, and on some days it was 500. So we have actually shown how to compute the average profit, and this is what the concept of expectation is. Now let us look at the graph of this PMFs. So the graph of PMF will look like this, and 250 is the point which is like in the middle. So this point, if you look at this point, based on the weights associated with these probabilities, what are the weights associated? This and this is actually balancing. This is the balancing act that is happening at point 250. So you can treat this as center of gravity. So if you want to take a physics interpretation of expectation, then physicists treat this as center of gravity, okay, or center of mass, you can say. So there are two interpretations that I have shown. This is the average if you run the strategy in the long run, what you will gain per day, that is what you are getting as. So average in the long run is what expectation is. Another interpretation is what you will get when you find the center of mass of this particular distribution. This is a probability mass function, it's a distribution. So what you will get, that is a center of gravity that you will get. So these are the two interpretations. Also it is a 1-point summary of your data. So this is the data that is available and it is 1-point summary of your data. So these are the three interpretations. So formally whatever we have done in star can be defined in as follows. So if x is a random variable and px is the PMF associated with that random variable, then expected value, we call that as expected value of x, and it can be calculated as summation over x pxx. This is for discrete random variables we are talking about. Now I have already shown you the interpretations. First interpretation is average in the long run of the experiment. This is relative frequency approach to probability. Second is center of gravity. It's a point of balance. So if you keep a probability mass and if you want to balance it with 1 point, you have to put your finger below that point so that the probability mass is appropriately balanced. And finally it is a 1-point summary. So all these three interpretations I have covered. Now let us look at an example and which will make your center of mass concept more realistic. For example, now you consider the roll of a die. In the roll of a die, all outcomes are equally likely. It's a fair die. So the probabilities are 1 by 6, 1 by 6, 1 by 6. So you can treat this generally in offline mode. We show a duster to them and say find the center of mass of this. So but now since there is no duster available, let me take this mobile and let me this is the mass, probability mass, and if I want to balance this mobile, I need to fix this point over here and that will be the mean of the distribution. So in this particular case, when I have been given a uniform probability, my center of mass without any computation should lie here and that point is 3.5. Let us now practically see using our formulation for expectation, how to compute this. So it is x pxx, right? So if x is a random variable which has this uniform distribution, then the expected value of x is equal to summation over I is equal to 1 to 6 I into px of I. What is px of I? It is 1 by 6. So 1 by 6 is thrown out and it is summation over I equal to 1 to 6 I. So this you know by formula. Sum of first n integers is n into n plus 1 by 2. So I will simply apply that formula. 1 by 6 as it is, 6 into 7 upon 2. So 6 getting cancelled, 7 by 2 is equal to 3.5. This is what our intuition suggested, and by computation also we have got the same answer. So this is how your formulation will look like. What is so special about 6? I can generalize this formula. Suppose I have been given a uniform distribution on set 1, 2 and so on up to n. Whatever I did here is applicable over here. So let us say this random variable is y. Then expected value of y will be equal to 1 by, because there are n points, 1 by n into summation over I equal to 1 to n, 1 upon n is already there, I. So this is equal to n into n plus 1, n getting cancelled, so n plus 1 by 2. Okay, so naturally this is the thing. Next comes some properties of expectation. So now I have defined expectation for x, and we know expectation for x is in general defined as let me for completeness, let me write it here, x pxx, this is x. Okay, so now in general, if I don't have this particular x but I have some function of x like this g of x, then how will the expectation be defined? So to be precise, let us go to first, before looking at these definitions, let us go to this diagram. So I have a sample space omega. By using random variable, I have defined a transformation of this sample space onto a subset of real line, which is R, and from R there is a function going which is g. Now I want to compute, so, and this g of x is nothing but y. So y takes the values in this range, this particular range, right? So I want to compute expected value of y. Now if I look at expected value of y and I go by the definition of expected value of y, which is summation over all y's such that y py of small y. Now take a pause and think about it for a minute. So a value assigned to this point is py of something, right? And similarly value assigned to this is py of something, of that point essentially. So let us name it as 1 and 2 for our convenience, or y1 and y2, so these are the 2 points. So py of y1 and py of y2. We are dealing with discrete random variables, so these things can be at most countable, and I know the exact mapping. So from our probability principles, what we have done here is to compute this py of y1, what we have done here is we have collected all the outcomes which belong to this, and therefore here there is only one outcome, so there is no confusion about it. Py of y1 is equal to px of, let us say this is x1, this is x2 and this is x3. Based on this diagram, this will be px of x1 plus, right? So the probability assignment is very clear. Now when you come to this point y2, you look at the inverse image of this, that is this x2 and x3. So what is py of y2 over here? It's simply px of x2 plus px of x3. Now this way arrangement we have already done. When we defined a random variable, we have figured out what is px and what is px of x1, x2, x3. So I am not worried about this assignment. So now I have done this assignment. Now let us incorporate this into our expression for expected value of y. So let me write it in a more bold way. Expected value of y is, in this case, when I am pictorially whatever I am showing, is y1 into p y1 of y1 plus y2 into, not y, this is not y1, y2, this is not y1, so that I have to clear. Okay, now interesting thing is, what is this y2 coming from? So I have written everything in terms of x's right here, so I will write it again. What is y1? y1 is g of x1, if you remember. So I will rewrite this as g of x1 into py of y1, I will replace by px of x1 plus y2. Now y2 is coming from two terms, right? So when it comes from g of x2, the probability assigned is px2. So I will write y instead of y2, I will write g of x2. When it is coming from x2, the probability assigned is px of x2. And when it is coming from x3, the probability assigned is px of x3. Now you are ready to derive a new formula, which is summation over all x's g of x which is defined here, and Px of x. Do you all agree with this formulation? Now you see what was the original formulation that we started with. It's summation over all y's, y, py of y. This requires computation of probability mass function at y, and the new formula that we have derived do not require any other computation. It's simply substituting, instead of value of y, substituting g of x. So you need not do these computations, but essentially both are same, and this for principle is known as law of unconscious statistician, abbreviated as LOTUS. So let me write it completely. So this is abbreviated as LOTUS. Many books give this as a definition of expectation, but we need to prove it. So and I have proved it through a counter case, but it doesn't matter as long as the outcomes are finite or countable. I have proved the result. Instead of 2, you can have a countable number of outcomes, the result will be still similar. So this is how we will compute expectation for a function of x. Okay, so that means once you know expectation, what is the expectation of x, you know what is expectation of g of x. You can easily compute it using this formulation. So now in particular, when your g of x is linear, that is expected value of alpha x plus beta. So in this case, g of x is alpha x plus beta. So what will be the what can you say about how it is related to expected value of x, that we can figure out. So I will simply use the formulation, which is summation over x by using law of unconscious statistician, g of x, that is alpha x plus beta, into px of x. This is possible because I am using law of unconscious statistician, or LOTUS in abbreviation. So in this case, you can easily see this alpha is a constant, doesn't depend on x. So I can push this out and I will say alpha x pxx plus beta in a similar manner x pxx. Okay, so now what will this term be? This term is actually nothing but sum over all possible values of x. So this will be equal to 1, so I don't have to worry about this. And what will be this term? This is by definition expected value of x. So it is alpha times expected value of x plus beta into 1. So I am skipping 1. Okay. So when g is linear and alpha and beta belong to R, or any scalars they are, then this formula holds. Okay. So in particular, the special cases of this is expected value of alpha x. Now you know what is expected value of x. Alpha x will be expected value of alpha times expected value of x. What is expected value of beta? Now if you go by definition, is beta a random variable? In a sense, yes, because if I am assigning a constant x is equal to beta, this is the random variable, and then I am actually assigning px of beta is equal to 1 and 0 otherwise. Okay. So if I assign this probability mass function, then you can treat this as a random variable, and therefore this value should be equal to beta. Okay. So based on the definition, you can assign these properties of expectation. Now let us take one interesting observation, that is, let us take expected value of x square. I will add some space over here so that it will be very clear. Let us take expected value of x square, or for that matter, let us take expected value of alpha times x the whole square. Let me rewrite it again. Expected value of alpha times x the whole square. what will happen to this? We will use our law of unconscious statistician. This is the function that is given to me. So what will happen? If I use my law of unconscious statistician, this is summation over x alpha square x square pxx. Okay. And if I go further in doing this, I will throw out alpha square and I will write this as expected value of x square. Right? So now my g of x was alpha x square and I got the answer to be alpha square expected value of x square. This justifies the next warning, that is, in general, expected value of the average of a random variable is not equal to the function of a random variable by substituting average value. Right? That is, if gx is a random variable, expected value of gx will not be equal to g of expected value of x. The demonstration is here. Right? So let us now take this second moment, this is called second moment of a random variable, and try to explore the properties of this second moment. Why not? I mean, you can consider any function. So in particular, because of lotus, this formulation is valid. The law of unconscious statistician, this formulation is valid, and you consider the second moment, and second moment has this formulation. So I want to use this second moment to characterize something which is called variation in the distribution. Okay. So now let us look at the formula for variance and see what it makes, how it makes our life easy. So variance of x in particular is defined as expected value of x minus expected value of x the whole square. So let us now try to understand what this is doing to our random variable. So let us take that example of a strategy which is, but let us scale it down. For example, instead of minus 200, 200 and 500, let us take the numbers to be very small so that the squares are reasonable. Okay. So I have one day performance which is minus 2, another day performance which is 2, and the final one performance which is 5. So I have scaled the numbers nicely. So here the probability was, let me go to that example. I forgot the probabilities. So let me go to that example, and yeah. So probabilities were 1 by 4, 1 by 4 and 1 by 2. One by 4, this is 1 by 4 and 1 by 4, and this is say 1 by 2. Okay, so this is roughly the probability mass function of this distribution. Now we have already seen the mean is over here around 250, so it will be 2.5 here. That's okay. So now what you look at this random variable, what it is saying is you consider this x and consider x minus expected value of x. So what is happening, you just take the expectation of this. Using our properties of expectation, you can easily figure out that this value will be equal to 0. Okay. So what I am doing, by transforming this, adding this minus expected value of x to x, I am shifting it to 0. So the first moment or expectation of this random variable is given to be equal to 0. Now if you take the square of this random, so it is 0, so I can't do much about this. But what it is actually calculating, it is calculating the difference of this random variable from the mean. For example, if the random variable takes the value 2, it is at a distance 0.5 from the mean. If the random variable takes the value minus 2, it is at a distance minus 4.5 from the, it is at a distance 4.5 from the mean 2.5. And if the random variable takes the value 5, it is at a distance 2.5 from the mean. So this is what this random variable is quantifying. The only problem with this random variable is that it is cancelling off the positive and negative parts. So I want to overcome that. So why not consider a function that overcomes this? You know, f of x is equal to x square overcomes this. Therefore, I am considering this. So if I consider this and take expectation of this will actually show me what is the average deviation from the mean for this particular random variable. So this is what is the square of the average deviation from expected value of x. This is called mean or expected value. Okay, so now this particular value will give me the square of the average deviation from the mean, and therefore it has a name called variance. Okay. So now if I have this graph, you can easily see the variance is too wide. But what if I have everything cluttered around these points, around this point? Then the variance will be small. So using variance, you can actually guess what will be the horizontal spread of the distribution of the probability mass function. With mean, you will locate the center of gravity or the mean point, that is this point, and with variance you can horizontally understand if the center lies at 0, what will happen to the distribution. So you can compute some variances and get the feeling of how variances are more or less. Then another thing is the properties of variance, which are essentially very simple. We have already shown this property in some sense, but let us for completeness, let us take these properties. So variance of x is always greater than or equal to 0. From the definition itself it is very clear. X minus expected value of x square, if you consider, then this random variable x minus expected value of x square is always going to be positive random variable. Therefore it cannot give a negative values, and probabilities are positive. So variance of x is by default greater than or equal to 0. Let us try to prove this property. Again, it is very easy. I have shown you something for alpha square, so it's just a matter of translation by beta. So let me write this left hand side. This is equal to expected value of alpha x plus beta minus alpha times expected value of x plus beta the whole square. And if you do that, then naturally what will happen, you have to open this bracket and you will get alpha square times expected value of x minus expected value of x the whole square plus you will have the term containing beta, which will be 0, and therefore you will have alpha square times variance of x. It's very easy, you can actually compute it. Let us now go further and analyze this interesting characterization of variance. I will prove this characterization of variance because I don't want, suppose theoretically it is easy to see that variance is non-negative from this formulation, but practically when I want to compute, I may have the second moment available and I may have the first moment available. Then this is the practical formula for us to use. So let me take this let me try to prove this formula over here. So let us start with the classical definition of variance of x, which is equal to expected value of x minus expected value of x the whole square. Just open this bracket to see how things work out. This is expected value of x square minus 2 times x into expected value of x plus expected value of x the whole square. Okay, so now I have opened the bracket. Let me go slightly up. Okay, so now expected value. So I will use the property of expectation which we have proved earlier. So this will become expected value of x square minus 2 times. Now remember, this expected value of x is a constant for me. So I will take out this expected value of x outside, and then if I apply this expectation, this is nothing but expected value of x plus this is again a constant for me, so this will be expected value of x the whole square as it is without expectation. To be precise, I will put a square bracket. Okay, now what is this? This is expected value of x square minus 2 times expected value of x the whole square plus expected value of x the whole square. So that will give me the final formulation, which is expected value of x square minus expected value of x the whole square. Okay, this proves our result. That is what variance is. So this is typically used for computations. This is for computation. This is in theory. If you want to prove the results, some results can be easily proved using this formulation, and this formula is easy to compute. Okay, now we have finished the explanation of concept of mean and variance. You can compute the variances for several things.